Hey everybody, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of Video Game Esoterica. We're calling this season the Oddity Obscura because we're going to be taking a look at a lot of very strange or otherwise odd games that kind of came from left field. Whether the storyline is strange, the art style might be out there, or otherwise the games are considered kind of fringe. We're going to be taking a look at 10 games this season that are completely away from the norm of what most games are going to be. We're starting taking a look at Kowloon's Gate, released in 1997 for the PlayStation 1 by a company called Zeke or Zek. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It is absolutely out there in every way, shape, and form. Like right now, you're looking at a cow with wings on a unicycle. The game has a lot of body horror elements. It is available in English in VR for the PlayStation 4. I've played it, and trust me, with dialogue it still makes no sense. But go ahead and take a look at the intro, and we'll come back with some gameplay. But thanks so much for checking out the Oddity Obscura. We're going to have a great 10-episode season, so go ahead and down below, hit that subscribe button. But enjoy the intro, and we'll be back in a second with some gameplay. So normally I would give you guys a little bit of a background as far as what's going on with this story, but with this game that kind of seems to be completely pointless because I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I don't think the game developers so much knew what was going on. You can see it takes a very Myst-like approach to the gameplay. You're going to have these transitions between static screens where you're going to be able to interact with different citizens of Kowloon Wild City, which is actually a real city, obviously. It does not look anything like this. Well, I mean, I've never been, but I'm highly presuming we would know if Kowloon City had mutants and cows with unicycles in it. But it definitely is a real place. But in this game itself, it's that very Myst style of gameplay. You click left, right, back, and forward, and you're able to examine things in your environment to kind of play through the game. You get the static images and then transitions back and forth. So as far as gameplay style is concerned, it does take that Myst or that otherwise point-and-click adventure game sort of setting, except it perverts it to the point where everything inside the game just makes you kind of feel uncomfortable or out of place. Yet there is something to be said about the environment that the game inhabits. It definitely draws you in with its weirdness. The weirdness doesn't push you away from wanting to know what happens in the game. It actually kind of sucks you in and makes you want to continue to explore the world of Kowloon's Gate to find out exactly why everything does look the way that it does. And for that, it's definitely worth playing. I had heard about this game on a couple different lists, but it never really piqued my interest too much until I started thinking about games I wanted to showcase that were kind of that strange side of gaming. And it's definitely something you get a lot in early generation consoles, PlayStation 1, PC Engine, Sega Saturn. Those era of games, systems seem to kind of have these type of titles for them. Obviously, Kowloon's Gate was a huge labor of love because the game is quite complex. There's a lot of art that goes into each and every scene, and from a purely visual standpoint, it is absolutely an incredible game to look at, and for that reason alone, I definitely recommend picking it up and playing it. You can have this game for cheap. It's $10 from Japan, $20 for the limited edition with an art book. I got the copy with the art book. I 100% recommend picking that up because you get an even closer, clearer, in-depth look at some of the art sketches that went into making this game, and you definitely want to see those. They are crazy out there. Some disturbed minds must have thought them up, and I just absolutely love looking at them, and I recommend you do too. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, there are some light puzzle elements. You have to give characters the right combination of items or interact with them in the right way to progress whatever storyline is there. And that is kind of that standard, mid to late 90s puzzle type of game. Interact with the right spot, give the right character the right item, and you're good to go. And you have these FMV sequences here. This is the save screen. It's kind of just an interactive Kowloon network that you can access throughout the game, and the VR version does kind of take some of that into consideration as well. So you do get a lot of these great FMV moments. What I'm going to let you do is I'm going to let you watch a little bit of the game and hear some of the audio in the background because the soundtrack is excellent as well. That ambient kind of music is something that really brings you into the game even further. So enjoy some of the gameplay. I'll be back in just a moment to kind of wrap things up and talk more about Kowloon's Gate.
俺鏡は見たんだ。チョンキンガーデンの中にいた。あんた風水師だろ。だったら助けなきゃ。チョンキンガーデンに
So what you're looking at here is the second gameplay variant in Kowloon's Gate. It's a first-person exploration setting. You are basically going through the game in real time as opposed to going from those scene-to-scene transitions. And you can definitely see that the graphics take a downward hit because we're not dealing with pre-rendered elements in the background. We're actually dealing with polygons and textures. But this does lend a little bit more interactivity to the game as far as this is concerned. You have these really dark, foreboding hallways and staircases that you have to explore around, and you do encounter what can best be described as enemies. It's not your traditional combat sort of system, but you will see later on in this gameplay where we do encounter one of those enemies and how that kind of functions. But this really brings that claustrophobic element in. During the pre-rendered sequences, you definitely get a scale of the world. It's dark, it's dingy, but everything kind of feels quite large. But when you get into the exploration elements, you're dealing in these little hallways that are quite dark. Obviously, part of that is a technical limitation of the PlayStation 1. When you're dealing with these real-time polygons, the developers couldn't render those gigantic wide-open spaces like they could in pre-rendered elements. But it also, like a lot of games like a Silent Hill or something like that, the technical limitations actually lend a real sense of atmosphere to the game while you're playing it. Unfortunately, the downside of that is that much like a lot of PlayStation 1 era games, this is a giant maze and it gives you absolutely no context as to what you're supposed to be doing. The only thing that shows you that you're on potentially the right track is when you see the screen distortion here. You do lose health from being in these areas, but it is kind of where you'll encounter the enemies. So it's kind of a give or take situation where this is how you progress, but you do kind of take some damage from being there. So now we're going to take a look at our first combat sequence, and you have this gigantic wind-up spider egg with one large eye, and these Chinese characters on this wheel. I kind of look at it like a mahjong wheel or like almost roulette, but I'm really not sure what I'm looking at. But the combat element, that's it. I kind of backed out of it, and you'll see some more later, but you just kind of have to select the right icon in the right order to progress that battle. If you pick it up in the wrong spot, you're going to take damage. But that's not explained to you whatsoever. Even if you did understand Japanese, there is no tutorial there. It just pops up on the screen. So there is a lot of trial and error to not only exploring these areas, but to the combat.
Oi, 誰かいるのか? いるのか? 助けてくれ. 俺はこの中だ. 3本のおかげでここを開けてくれ.
And we can assume that that voice gave us some sort of indication where they're on the right track or some sort of storyline element. That door lights up to show us that it is locked. But we definitely wanted to hit Oddity Obscura with an episode right out of the gate that showcases just how weird games can be. And Kowloon's Gate is an excellent example of that. This game, I think, still probably has secrets that you just can't decipher, even if you are a native speaker. I mean, when you have enemies that are wind-up spider balls, you know you're on the right track as far as weird is concerned. When you get these crazy combat elements involved in there too, it gets even weirder. But trust me, there's a lot more weird gameplay coming up on this season. We have 9 more episodes of some of these stranger and more unique games that I've ever had the chance to play. Some of them are quite weird, like Kowloon's Gate. Some of them are quite normal, yet to me seem extremely weird. But thanks so much for watching. We're really excited to bring this new topic and season to you guys. We'll have an episode every Tuesday, so come back next week and check it out. Otherwise, enjoy this last little bit of Kowloon's Gate and this crazy combat right here. Please hit that like and subscribe button down below, and if you want, you can check us out on Instagram at Chicago Game Collector. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday with another episode of the Oddity Obscura on Video Game Esoterica. Oh, and there's a brain in a paddle fan, because brains are paddle fans. That's why.